should it really not have a picture? So that's what I'm saying with that. As well, you also have to keep in mind your headline is like a book title. It tells you what the book is about, and there's usually a subtitle. So those are things that you have to consider as well. And of course, we have descriptions. So I'll move quite along and I'll get into that a little bit more. So I want you guys to think of your profiles like a book, and selling that book on Amazon, and how you use Amazon to find books that you are looking for specifically. It's a very interesting analogy. So you need to know the key words. So you did some interesting work in the beginning when you were defining who you are. Well, how will they find you? What would someone search if they wanted to find someone like you? Just like if I were looking for a book on Jay-Z, it's easy for Jay-Z because he's Jay-Z. But what is it I'm looking for specifically? How are people going to find you? Maybe that's part of your job title. Maybe that's part of the work you do. You want to know these words so that you can bring them into your profiles because, again, people are looking for you. As well, you want to go deeper. So you want to include links. So links to your other social media profiles. And again, I'll be able to relate this back in just a moment. So right there we see a link to more information about Zach O'Malley, the man who wrote the Jay-Z book. And also you want to have suggested action, in other words, a call to action. So maybe connect with me. You want to make sure you're telling people, hey, it's okay to connect with me if that's what you want, if that's part of your goals, or what you're looking for. And tell people what to do when they get there, in a nice way. And also detailed summaries. The more details about a book, the more likely you are, because you have more information, the more likely you are to make a purchasing decision. So the more likely you are to make a connection decision. So all these things matter. So when you take a book and a personal profile of you, it's still for sale, so to speak. So the profile snapshot, that's me. No kidding. What we see, generally speaking, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Twitter, most profiles, they have a snapshot. So right away, you have information that you can make a decision with. So it's usually your picture, your headline, your location. A lot of people say everywhere, or the universe, and stuff like that. That is one of the worst things you could probably do, because when opportunities happen and I want to fill an opportunity, I'm looking local. Right? Yes, there may be some people who are international and got the swagger like that, and they can just move around and say that. They're, New York, California, Toronto, everywhere. I don't have it like that. People need to know that I'm in Toronto right now, and that really also helps people find you. And also, when you're looking to connect with people, I want to connect with people locally. I take the time and I actually meet with people. I love Starbucks. Starbucks is where business happens. Or any other coffee place of your choice. But you want to know, when you make that conscious effort and decision to connect with people locally and build your network, which I'll talk about in a minute, I'm kind of jumping the line here, it is amazing. Also, so your location and your links. LinkedIn offers you an option to customize your link, for example, as well as the other links that I share to my website, to my company. So you want to make sure that your snapshot is full. The minute one of these things are missing, the blink factor happens. One is like, something's just not right. I don't know. It's like, it just makes you start to question. And the whole thing with marketing, whether it's a product or anything else, is you want the smoothest line to get to you. You want it to be, you don't want any distractions. So the minute something's missing, or the minute you call into question, like, we see those spammer accounts, and you're just like, that's so sketchy McSketchington, I just can't. I just see those sketchy accounts, and it's just weird, so you just can't do that. So you want to make sure that your information's there, especially in that snapshot. And then, you know what? You get time to reintroduce yourself, right? Because now you know what's out there. Now you know what's about you. You've defined who you are. You've set up your spaces online, and I'll talk to you a little bit about setting up your spaces in just a second. So allow me to reintroduce myself. And LinkedIn is definitely a must. I've talked about it before and why LinkedIn is, well, I talked about it a little bit. I've talked about LinkedIn. But the reason why LinkedIn is the most important social website right now, and that's arguably the most important social media website right now, is because professionally speaking, this is where people are going to find out your professional, polished information about you. And we all recognize that LinkedIn's like your good side. You know what I mean? Because we recognize that and we know that, and that's okay. Because we are looking for information about you professionally speaking. There are over 200 million people on LinkedIn. Yes, I know there's over 1 billion people on Facebook.
I definitely agree with you.
But people on LinkedIn are looking to connect with purpose, connect with intention, specifically when it comes to professional endeavors and opportunities. And more people every day I see are in my own circle and sphere of influence are getting on LinkedIn and recognizing that, oh my gosh, I can no longer have this LinkedIn tombstone. You know, you set it up in 88, forget it. Well, not 88, 2008, you forgot it. You know, you set it up, here lies the career of Cher Jones that is dying in cyberspace. No, we have to make sure that we are updating this information. It is so important. But everybody always asks, so where else do I go? Okay, LinkedIn, yeah, okay, get that. Makes sense, you know, everybody's on there. It's a professional space, and at the same time, it doesn't require as much as other networks, although LinkedIn is now building into such a social network as well, whereas before it was like a place to kind of let your resume rest and relax and, you know, connect. But there are other networks. And I'm not going to sit here and say you need to be on Twitter, or you need to be on Google+. If you're in tech, you need to be on Google+, or if you're in this business, you need to be on that. I'm not here to tell you that, because you need to fish where the fish are, okay? It doesn't make sense that I tell you, yeah, Facebook page, 12% engagement, that's for you. It doesn't matter about that. You need to go where they are. You can't build it and they will come to you. You need to go where they are, start engaging in those conversations, and figure out what makes sense to align with your brand. I mean, MySpace, we never know what that could come now. I mean, 2 years ago we laughed at it, but now with JT and Helm, and they're going through this whole new rebrand. If you're in comedy or music, you might want to be over there. You have to look, and if there is an alive social network, and it helps with what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, what you want to accomplish, then go. And don't get caught up. There's so much out there. You know, you want to make sure, just like you want the right watch instead of the right watch, you want to make sure that it is the right thing. Should I be vining? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? There's so many new things. There's always going to be a new thing every other day. So don't worry about that. You just want to make sure that it makes sense for you. And also, if you're going to invest the time in creating content that represents you, and so what you're doing, because some people are going to take their career, at least beyond LinkedIn, but if you're taking your career and your content to the next level, you want to make sure you own where your content lives. So we put it out on all these networks, but tomorrow Facebook can say, I'm sorry, we're charging, although they said they're not going to. Or Twitter is going to do something different, or whoever is going to do something different.
That's a good point.
If your content is everywhere and not where you own it, then what's the point? Because you have no control over it. And don't you want to fish and then bring the fish back to you? So if you have an opportunity, you want to make sure that you own your URL, own your website. Don't just do it on the Facebook. It's not that expensive. And it really adds to your brand. And then so I talked a little bit about content and valuable content. And it's always about relevance. It's always about what people are interested in, what you want to say that aligns with your brand, and kind of mixing it together and making sure that you are relevant. And so it's somewhere in the middle, because people are always wondering, what should I share? Well, what aligns with what you're trying to do, your goals? What are people trying to accomplish? And it's that middle sweet spot that you want to get, that you'll be sharing and creating. So it's all about that. What's your bait to bring people back? And also, the last is really pretty much connect or engage others. You want to make sure that you are connecting with people. And how do you do that? Because a lot of people say, well, how am I going to talk to these people that I don't even know? I've been using LinkedIn. That's why I'm a big fan of LinkedIn lately. One of the areas that I want to work in is in sports. So my career is going back in the circle again. But I want to work in sports, and I want to work with athletes in their brand. I want to work with athletes on how they share information. And they don't know how, their Twitter feeds and their Facebook pages, they're always one-sided. They know how to share one thing and one thing only. You know, but I want to help them develop their stories, because my background is in communications and PR, and I want to help them do that, because I think that the mommy blogger model can apply to athletes. So all that to be said is, I've been connecting with, in in the early fall, I connected with the Senior Director of Operations for the NBA. And I actually went to lunch with him, and that was just through a connection through LinkedIn. I literally said, hey, I'd love for you to hear my idea. I connected with one of the player development directors for the LA Lakers, had our conversation. And I mean, I have about 15 connections like this that I've made simply because, and even players, like if you go through my LinkedIn connection list, you'll see who I've been connecting with. And they're genuine, authentic connections. They're not just people, oh, check, I'm connected. No, you want to build that connection. And also, so all that to be said is don't use that standard, hi, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn. Or
Amen.
the more creepy, you're somebody I trust. Ever get that? That is the most, it always creeps me out when I say that. I'm just like, why would you think that one? I don't know how you got that one. But yeah, it really, it freaks me out. But that being said, you want to make sure you take the time. You've got 300 characters to fill when you make that connection request. It's part of how you influence how people feel about you. And get the idea of what you bring to the table and know your goals. So ask them, and you'll be able to get connected. And it works a lot better than, hi, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn professional network. It just doesn't work. And you also want to make sure that you are authentic and you are the real deal.
That's exactly what I was
you want to make sure that
she knows her stuff.
This is what you bring, this is who you are, and everything you share and do reflects you. And finally, you want to grow that relationship. So you want to make sure that, like I talked about those local opportunities, I'm always connecting with people locally because I think it's so important that we go out. We do it's all good online, you know, keyboard to keyboard, but you really want the face-to-face and toes-to-toes. You want that connection in front of somebody, and that's how you build a relationship. And the more you put into the relationship, the more you can withdraw. So when you connect with people, as far as tactfully speaking, so we talked about making sure that you connect beyond the standard connection, because we don't want to be standard, we want to stand out, we want rock star brands here, we want people to feel good about us. But you also want to make sure that you are connecting with intention and that you're connecting to help. You can't say, hey, can you hook me up with that job? And this is the first time we're meeting. That's just not, ignore. That's what happens, I ignore that. Well, maybe not because I'm nice, but a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of recruiters, and they ignore those requests. But there may be ways to connect that conversation. And I
sort of a two-stage thing. One, trying to engage